we're going to have a Bhagavad Gita class this evening. Appreciate you all joining in the class today. Wonderful. We'll get started. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Urmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sri Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadami Supatantikam Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Devamrita Swami Iti Namane Prachare Puradaksham Cha Bhaktachara Pravinatha Paratartat Karnam Yashe Sarvasте Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prachasta Desitarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Krishnaya Devaki Nandanaya Sha Vasudevaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dear devotees, today we're going to talk about chapter 14. Let me see, stop sharing. Um, I hope you're able to see that. These slides. I'm trying to see the screen share. I'm trying to get help from Guruji, uh, Prabhuji from the temple, Samsung Prabhuji. Okay, now. Okay, now we are on the online. Wonderful. Devotees, I hope you're able to see the screen that I'm sharing. So, Bhagavad Gita, that you all know, is a uh, life manual, if you call it. Bhagavad Gita is a life manual because here, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself talks about how he vision, how he sees the world to his dear devotee Arjuna. So here Bhagavad Gita talks about five important aspects of life. One is Isvara, the Supreme Lord, the Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, the material nature, Kala, the time, Karma, the action and reaction. So here Bhagavad Gita is divided into three sections. One is chapter 1 to 6, attaining Bhakti Yoga through karma. Number 7, chapter 7 to 12, middle chapter, 6 chapters, dedicated to pure Bhakti Yoga. And chapter 13 to 18, the last segment, 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is dedicated to Bhakti through Jnana. So we are in the last section, chapter 14. We're talking about today. So here, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the only chapter where he himself talks about the modes without Arjuna being asking that question. Most of the times we see Arjuna ask question, Bhagavan Krishna responds to him to clarify his questions. But this is actually a continuation of chapter 13, where he asked 5 different questions. Arjuna asked in 13. So that is in the 6 questions. What is the Prakriti? What is the Purusha, the enjoyer? What is the Kshetram, the field? Kshetragnam, the knower of the field. Jnanam, the knowledge. Jnayam, the object of knowledge. So here, Arjuna asked these questions, what are these? It's not just to have definitions clarified, but he wants to see through this information how Krishna sees this world. Would it be a good to see how God sees this world, to have some idea about how we can go about in this world. That's the best way to do it, right? If I had to start over my life, that is what I would do if I had to do over. So here, to these 6 questions, then chapter 13, Arjuna asked, clearly understand, to know what Bhagavan Sri Krishna's point of view, how he sees his world through his lens. And this is called Sankhya Yoga. And there is a difference between Sankhya and the science. They both start with the S. Science is, as you all know, anybody go through the STEM program, science makes things more palatable, more comfortable in life, and thereby we have raga, or comfort, so that we want to use it more. For example, iPhone, all get now AI coming through artificial intelligence. But these are all comforts that you get through the science. Whereas the Sankhya is, you will have opposite of that. Whereas Sankhya is the philosophy where it is information based upon your soul, and which gives more liberation in terms of vairagya, or renunciation of our material attachment. In some sense, what is the number one problem, that health problem that we face in this universe, or in this world, most of the countries faces, is mental related diseases, mental health problem, which is depression, anxiety, all kind of mental illnesses. That's the number one issues that is running in the world right now. So once Krishna gives the proper knowledge that your soul and your body is made up of material elements that we'll talk about, that's exactly what the Sankhya Yoga. Once you have this knowledge, is more whole lot of liberation. Mentally have a liberation, what it is, right? So to see the world in that sense. So in that way, you have your attitude of outlook towards the world changes. And this knowledge is timeless as well as timely. It is a continuation of knowledge. It's not a one set of data or information that you see in science. So in chapter 13, there are 6 concepts of questions which are bedrock of philosophy of Sankhya Yoga that we introduced. And also in here, modes of material nature, Bhagavan Krishna introduces. And this is exactly what he is going to talk about in chapter 14. So while understanding this modes of material nature in chapter 14, and we'll see how it is connected from chapter 13, you will have Krishna's vision or Krishna's lens. When you see the world through Krishna's lens, everything will be in alignment. And chapter 14, the linking from chapter 13 that we went through, Bhagavan Sri Krishna in chapter 13, verses 6 to 7, talks about the Sankhya philosophy. In a nutshell, you have 5 senses, and 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and 5 working senses like speech, hands, legs, and 5 sense objects like eyes, form for eyes, and sound for ears, like that. And these are all 20 senses. And then we have 20 elements, right? And we have 4 subtle things. There is mind, intelligence, false ego, and another one of that is unmanifested 3 modes of material nature. And total, all of these 20 plus 4 become 24 elements. And then 25th element is Kshetrajna, which is the individual soul, who sees that individual body and we are aware of. Whereas Paramatma is the 26th element. Paramatma is the super soul, which sees all other fields, all other kshetras. Not only my body, Paramatma exists in all living entities. And that is in Sankhya Yoga in a nutshell. So, and also Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about in chapter 13, 8 to 12 verses, process of acquiring knowledge. There are 20 processes of acquiring knowledge. And out of these, Avyabhicharani Bhakti, unalloyed devotional service, is the number one that actually catapults all other knowledge for understanding. So there is no need to have extra endeavor to have any other 19 different processes of knowledge if you have unalloyed devotional service. That's what in these 4 verses Bhagavan Krishna talks about. So in a nutshell, what are the 20 processes of knowledge? Humility, pridefulness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, perception of evil, birth, death, old age, disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement, even-mindedness amidst pleasant and unpleasant events, constant unalloyed devotional service. This is how Vyabhicharani Bhakti we talked about. Aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for absolute truth. All these I declare Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about as a knowledge. Anything outside of this is an ignorance. So out of these 16, constant unalloyed devotional service, how you can have that? Through approaching bona fide spiritual master, learning the Sankhya Yoga properly. And that's how your vision improves about this material world. So the important thing here is the process of knowledge is 20 items. This knowledge would give you enough understanding so that your entanglement of interaction of these 24 elements would be overcome from this knowledge. Otherwise, what happens if you entangle? And then we talked about the number one cause of illness is mental illnesses all over the world. And you see that more and more. If you don't have that understanding, and you would have more bodily based issues. And in 13th chapter, 22nd verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna introduces these 3 gunas. And that is being discussed elaborately in chapter 14. Purusha prakriti stohi, bhunte prakriti jana guna, karana guna sangasya, yad asad yoni janmasu. What is that translation? The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying 3 modes of nature. This is due to his association with material nature. Thus, he meets the good, evil in various species. So here, Bhagavan Krishna looks at the life as a the life which is nothing but the soul as continual. The soul can take different bodies based upon what happens, what karmic activities that are involved. And the purport here, this verse is very important for understanding of how living entity transmigrates from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that living entity is transmigrating from one body to another, just as one changes its dress. This change of dress is due to attachment to material existence. As long as he is captivated by the false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating one body to another body. So how he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three modes of nature to become situated in transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, this material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another, because he has material desires since the time immemorial. He has to change that conception. If you don't change that, you're sure to take another body at the end of this life. The change can be affected by this change. If you want to cut the life cycle of birth and death, that change can be affected by hearing from authoritative source. What is the authoritative source? The one we are discussing. There is the cream of Veda is Bhagavad Gita, which is nothing but translated in English, Song of God, as it is translated by Srila Prabhupada, we're discussing. Right? This is the authoritative source. And ISKCON centers all over the world, every evening they have a Bhagavad Gita class. And that's where you get the authoritative information about the soul and the body and the three modes of nature. So the best example here is Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, he will lose his long cherished desire to dominate the material nature. And gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. So to this extent, you want to dominate the matter, you want to get this and get that, and you want discomfort. To that extent, you would not have spiritual enjoyment, happiness. In the Vedic mantra, it is said that he becomes learned in association with Supreme Personality of Godhead, is proportionate to releases the eternal nature of the soul. Due to his desire to loyal to all material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the living entity is born as a demigod or higher in a higher planetary system, or a man, or a beast, or a bird, or a worm, or an aquatic animal, saintly man, or bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to the master of his circumstances and is under the influence of the material modes. Because of that influence of three modes of nature, he falsely thinks he is the boss. So now, chapter 4, that is the introduction from chapter 13, verse 22. Now we'll come to chapter 14. Here, from verse 1 to verse 4, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about how we are placed in the material nature. In verse 5, Bhagavan Sri Krishna introduces the modes in this chapter. And again, and verse 6 to 9, he explains the characteristics of these modes, which are mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, mode of passion. And text 5, he discusses material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, oh mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. So the way I am acting is by the modes I've been conditioned. So, O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being the pure, purer than others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode became conditioned by a sense of happiness, knowledge, and the living entity is bound to material fruit of action. Right? So, mode of goodness is illuminating. Whereas most of us in this material world, we are more of passion or ignorance. So in verse 7, it talks about mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. So we want to have a lot of desires, and we want to have them forever. And that is what the passion does. O son of Kunti, and because of this embodied living entity, the soul is embodied in my body, is bound to material fruitive actions. Because if you do this, and you get this. And text 8, Bhagavan Krishna talks about, O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, sleep, which binds the conditioned soul. Text 9, O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive actions, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. Verse 10 talks about sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata. So there is modes of competing one another here. Sometimes, similarly, mode of passion defeats the mode of goodness and ignorance. Whereas at other times, ignorance defeats the mode of goodness and passion. In this way, there's always competition for supremacy. And here Prabhupada explains in this verse, even in the day to night, we are subjected to 3 different modes. For example, early morning hours from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. is mode of goodness. It's called Brahma Muhurta. From 7 a.m. until late in the evening is 7 p.m. is more passion. And from in the evening at night is more of ignorance. So that's why anybody live most of the material world work in the mode of ignorance, late night shows, right? And clubs, all kind of things, gambling. So late night, there's more of ignorance. And verse 10, it discusses a manifestation of mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are eliminated by knowledge. So Prabhupada discusses about that. What are the 9 gates of our body? Is 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, and 2 ears, mouth, and anus, and genitals. So if somebody is the mode of goodness, all of these gates of our body is eliminated eliminated with the knowledge. What is that knowledge? We talked about 20 process of knowledge, right? So that knowledge will give, I am the spirit soul embodying in this body. I am permanent, I am eternal servant of Supreme Lord, Bhagavan Krishna, and this body is temporary. That is the real knowledge. And every whole gates of the body works in mode of goodness when we evolve to them. And here, verse 12, Bhagavan Krishna talks about, O chief of Bharata, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, an uncontrollable desire and hankering develops. That is a sign of passion. If somebody have any of these, they want to do things all the time, and they are attached to their possessions, they are attached to what they want in life, and they have intense endeavor, uncontrollable desire, that is the symptom of passion. So there's a metaphor Bhagavan Krishna talks about, and also Prabhupada talks about, from soul, which is seated in our heart. Srimad Bhagavatam talks about 12 inches in our heart. And this is being conditioned through our consciousness, through the matter, by ropes. Soul is bound to the matter through the ropes. From soul, we have consciousness, mind, and the senses, and the matter, sense organs, right? This is the ropes. And also it is given another analogy as gear, right? If you want to go reverse gear or driving gear, so this is each one compared to each mode. So mode of sattva is mode of goodness, rajas is mode of passion, tamas is mode of ignorance. So in sattva guna, mode of goodness, you have clarity, both external and internal clarity. Whereas rajas, you have more activity because they're always trying to do something. Whereas tamas, you have laziness and sleepiness, mostly tamas. And verse 13, Bhagavan Krishna talks about when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. In verses 14 to 20, Bhagavan Krishna talks about each effect of each mode, where how they are short-term and long-term effect, and medium-term effect of these modes that we already discussed. Today is the 17th verse, is the verse we're going to talk about. And Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso loba evacha pramada moh tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. From the mode of ignorance, develops foolishness, madness, and illusion. And Prabhupada gives his purport, since the present civilization is not very congenial for the living entities, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Through Krishna consciousness, society will develop mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are, right? And that is called a peaceful society. They don't be externally bogged down by the outlook or by the body nature, which is temporary. They see as they are, things as they are. What is that? They see themselves as a spirit soul and servant of Bhagavan Krishna. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animals and cannot see things clearly. So most of human beings nowadays in more passion, more ignorance. And Krishna consciousness or God consciousness elevates our consciousness towards the mode of goodness. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see that by killing one animal, they are taking the chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life. So there's a great, nice graphic picture in the Bhagavad Gita book that a butcher killing an animal coming back as a human, killing that butcher as an animal. So they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. So if you don't know what is the mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and where I am, and I wouldn't know what I am. And then obviously we will do things without knowledge, proper knowledge. That means we do things in ignorance. So for proper knowledge, you need to have the knowledge of the soul and the body. And this is Bhagavad Gita is the life manual in that sense. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober in full knowledge of things as they are. So, and 5.29 Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about such a person in mode of goodness who sees things as they are, and he uses a term called Pandita Samadarshana, whereas he's the sage, even though he is a student or a householder or which is brahmachari, student, a householder, or a retired person, that person is truly a sage who sees things as they are. He sees a dog eater, an ant, an elephant, another human being, same, with equal, because they're all soul. Each one has a soul. So the bodily differences is temporary. And that's what it means. More person with more of goodness, they will become sober and in full knowledge of things as they are. That's what exactly it means. Then the people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of the people aren't happy and prosperous, if certain percentage of population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is a possibility of peace and prosperity all over the world. And Prabhupada talks about this very nicely here. There are several research protocols were done in some centers, particularly in a neighborhood where they have a lot of break-ins, a lot of stealing, those kind of like a downtown in some cities. They took 1% of, they have 100,000 population, 1% of them, there are about 1,000 people who in the morning daily meditate for minimum 20 minutes. They examined this for 3 months. And it has been shown that by just 1% of population being meditating, praying for 20 minutes in the early morning hours, have significant effect in that neighborhood. Their crime rate went down. All kind of problems went down. Calling people to call 911 for the place went down. Right, their hospital visits from that place went down. So even just a mere example of that study, that like several studies were done in the last 20 to 30 years. And this is exactly what Prabhupada is referencing here. Mere a percentage of population develops Krishna consciousness, come to mode of goodness, become situated in the mode of goodness, then there's a possibility of peace and prosperity all over the world. So otherwise, if the world is devoted to the mode of passion and ignorance, there can be no peace and prosperity. Because if you are more of passion and ignorance, if you work on the bodily concept, and we see the differences between religions, between male and female, between younger, older, this color, that skin color, all of those differences comes if you work on passion and mode of ignorance. In the mode of passion, people become greedy and they are hankering for sense enjoyment and they have no limit. They always want more. One can see that even if one has enough money and adequate arrangement for sense gratification, there is neither happiness nor peace of mind. That is not possible in that concept. So if one wants the happiness at all, his money will not stop him. He has to elevate himself to the mode of goodness. By practicing Krishna consciousness, when one is engaged in the mode of passion, not only is he mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome if it's not in mode of goodness. So he has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. This is all miserable. In the mode of ignorance, people become mad, being distressed by the circumstances. They take shelter of intoxication, or watching TVs, or smoking, right? This escapism, or social media. Thus, they sink further into ignorance, and their future is like very dark. Unless if you don't get yourself in the mode of goodness, this is mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, spirals down to one's consciousness, to the animalistic quality. According to Prabhupada's purport here. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upwards towards higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live in earthly planets, and those in abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So when one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work, then these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all of these modes, he attains the spiritual nature. This is the very important part Prabhupada talks about. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work, then these modes of nature, so somebody acts the way they act, they're drunk, they sleep more, whatever, they watch, whatever, because of it is not because of their soul. It is their soul is embodied into this body that is that's 24 elements we discussed about, mostly the 24th element, which is mode of nature. Because of that mode of nature is the one that is causing it, not them. And that is the true knowledge. That's a spiritual knowledge. So when the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with material body, he can become free from birth, death, age, and the distress, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. And that's exactly what happened, Prabhupada. And he was so pure soul, he made hippies into happies. Hippies at the time in 60s, they were everybody was doing abominable things, right? Illegitimate sex, drugs. These are all mode of ignorance. And because of Prabhupada's mercy and God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, they enjoyed the nectar. From distress, they changed to mode of goodness. And that is right there in the last 50 years that happened. So in San Francisco, where the Makkah, the hippie movement, the city of San Francisco didn't know how to deal with young people using drugs and sex on the streets and all of those. City had a major problem how to help this situation. When Prabhupada went and did the Sankirtana movement, first time chanted with 10,000 people in big stadiums, when they gathered, all hippies gathered, and that's where the Krishna conscious movement came. And the first Ratha Yatra, where Lord Jagannatha came on the streets in San Francisco. Next month we will have in Los Angeles Ratha Yatra, annual Ratha Yatra, where Bhagavan Krishna goes to devotee, all the public, to see and have experience of mode of goodness. right? So you all have to check out about Ratha Yatra, both in San Francisco and also in Los Angeles next month. So in chapter 14, that is about that is about what's other verses 8 and verses 9, 19 and verses 20, and then and verses 21 to 25, Prabhupada explains, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about, explain how intricately and inexplicably the modes binds us in all the material nature. And 1426 prepares the bhakti solution and conclusion. So here, towards the end of the chapter, Bhagavan Krishna ties it all together. So the way that you are working is based upon your modes of material nature. Your body is conditioned to that mode. And if you evolve yourself to the mode of bhakti, unalloyed devotional service, like we talked about, one of the 20 processes of knowledge, 17th knowledge process, 17th is unalloyed devotional service, and then you elevate into mode of goodness. Let's see the verse 26. Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatityan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. This is the very important verse in entire Bhakti Yoga. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcend the mode of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Brahman is the level of soul. So Prabhupada translates this in 27th verse. I am the basis of impersonal Brahma, which is immortal, imperishable, eternal, and is the constitutional position of unlimited happiness. So that is the Brahman's position, is the soul's position. So one come to that platform and he sees Jivo Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. So he realizes, the soul realizes that I am eternal servant of Krishna, and that is the cause for one elevating oneself in more of goodness. So what is the unalloyed devotional service, right? Prabhupada discusses there are in the Kali Yuga, this age of Iron Age, Kali Yuga, where the age of degradation, where most of the population is more of ignorance and passion. One of the way to elevate oneself to unalloyed devotional service is just by chanting. Chanting what? Chanting Mahamantra. That's what Prabhupada talks. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna's incarnation himself, about 500 years ago, came to Navadvipa in India, and he, as in the role of devotee, he propagated the Sankirtana movement. That is, the way you purify, elevate your modes from mode of ignorance to mode of passion, to mode of goodness, and pure goodness, that is unalloyed devotional service, is by chanting. Chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How do you do that? In the morning, like we talked about, mode of goodness time in the morning, Brahma Muhurta, start with one round of chant. There's a beats like here, 108 beats. This is the head beat, and 108 beats, we start counting. We beat back, chanting Mahamantra Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked about. That is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the one mantra, the 16 syllable. And the next, so after one, we count next beat, one beat. The second beat, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The third beat, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is how we do it for at least one round. And the devotees who has taken initiation, that is, approach the spiritual master and learning this science of Krishna consciousness, they take a vow chanting minimum 16 rounds in Brahma Muhurta, at least during in a day, minimum 16 rounds. More is merrier, particularly on the Ekadasi days. We have twice in a month, the Ekadasi days comes, where is more spiritually, more potent days, where people chant even more than 16 rounds. And then Prabhupada also talks about how to elevate oneself from more of ignorance to more of goodness, or more of passion to more of goodness, is 4 regulated principles. One is no meat eating. Number 2, no illegitimate sex, no sex outside of the marriage. Number 3, no gambling. Number 4, no intoxication or any kind of mind-altering substances. And this is called austerities. In this age of Kali, austerities is this. If you follow these 4 regulated principles, you are austere. And that is get us to human platform. So from human platform, going to the more of goodness is the Krishna consciousness. And if you are not having these 4 regulated principles, you are not approaching your life in human platform. You are below the level of human platform. Because animal killing will make mercy. We won't act on mercy if you do animal killing. If you do intoxication, right, our knowledge will become illusion. If you illegitimate sex, that is impure mind, impure soul, impure body. So like that, if you're on the 4 regulated principles, you are in the path of austerities. And then if you chant daily, the more is the merrier. Bring Bhagavan Krishna, Sri Krishna into your life. How do you bring Bhagavan Sri Krishna into your life? By chanting his name. And also reading Bhagavad Gita daily, like how we did in the last 45 minutes. We read Bhagavad Gita verse 17 today. Like that, we have Bhagavad Gita as it is, like Prabhupada wrote this book, translated this book. This, the Bhagavad Gita, is the spiritual condensed knowledge of all the Vedas. And this is a non-sectarian knowledge. We were talking about, one person asked about Prabhupada when he was here. Prabhupada, what is the religion? How to define religion? Prabhupada defined religion based upon the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam verse. That religion which teaches or helps a person to love God, fall in love with God, just like Jesus fall in love with God. And he said, live on this planet, but not off of it. What is the spiritual technology for that? It's like he's swimming in the ocean, but don't get wet. What is the spiritual technology for that? And this is exactly what we talked about. From getting ourselves from more of ignorance, from more of passion, to more of goodness. That means you will be like a tortoise. And tortoise, if you see, when an enemy comes, it go into the shell. all the limbs. You can't get it. So similarly, we will have a tortoise, like all the senses can be protected if you're in mode of goodness. Because in mode of ignorance, mode of passion, then everything you see, our senses get dragged away. And when you get yourself into mode of goodness by Krishna consciousness, and you will be, Krishna gives a comparison in second chapter, you will be like tortoise, and your senses will be spread out when it need to be, and retracted when you don't need to be. That means you will be very conscious of what mode your body is operating under. Mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, mode of passion. And that is the true knowledge. And that's exactly what Bhagavan Shri Krishna talks about, the 20 process of knowledge. If you have a true knowledge, and then you see what the ignorance is. Well, with that, we're going to stop our discussion for today. And if you have any questions, we'll take that on the sideline, because at 8 o'clock we have, in the temple, we have Kirtan. Dear devotee, thank you very much for allowing me to share this important, very important words today. And all the knowledge that whatever that I gave it is nothing belongs to me, it all belongs to Parampara, comes right from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if I have made any mistakes by conveying this message, all faults is because of me, because I didn't know how to present properly. That's my fault. Please, as a Vaishnavas, please excuse me, forgive me for any mistakes I made. With that, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatarubhusya, Krupasindhibhya evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.